What's going on, guys? Zuko back with another Shadowlands video. How's everybody doing? I hope you're having a fantastic day. Grab your coffee. Listen, we are going over the last fight in the raid. We're going to talk about the jailer himself. So we did end up killing him last week, which was awesome. And it's a really good fight. It's an interesting fight. There's a lot of different kind of mechanics going on, and we'll get into the whole VOD in a minute. If I give you a little summary of the fight, I would basically say that it has to do with mostly with the holes that are in the ground. There's a lot of like knockback mechanics, and there's dangerous areas all over the arena that you don't want to fall into, and that would be the bulk of the mechanics. They all kind of revolve around falling off the platform in some way, so we'll get to that when we get there. Let's start though by talking about the build. What did I run? Of course, I ran Ellie Blast, Hot Hand, Hailstorm, and then Ellie Spirits. We were doing Witch Doctor Wolfbones, so same build as I usually do for these kinds of fights. For these it's just a single target fight. There's no AoE whatsoever, so you don't really want like Lashing Flames. We take Hailstorm because, of course, in the Conduits we're running Chilled to the Core and Focus Lightning, and I believe on this fight I actually ran Magma Fist instead of Tumbling Waves because I was running a Hot Hand, so there's going to be a lot of Lava Lash presses, right? Going to be pressing Lava Lash quite a bit. So ended up running Focus Lightning, Chilled to the Core, and Magma Fist. Those are the three Conduits that you want to run, and I did run Plague Divisor Merilith as I usually do. We're hovering around 76% haste or so on the Necrolord, and 31%, 76% mastery, sorry, and 31% haste. So that's the build in a nutshell, guys. The reason we take Hailstorm, of course, is because Fire Nova does basically no damage in single target. It's not very good, and Frost Shock actually does a significant amount of damage all on its own. It does 2,400 damage. If I get 5 stacks of Maelstrom, that goes up to like 4,400 damage. So it's no joke. It's a really good ability. And even without it cleaving, the Hailstorm buff obviously makes it cleave other targets, but even without the cleave, it does substantial amounts of damage. So I just enjoy. I think it's really, really good for this fight. And of course, with the Chilled to the Core Conduit, it generates stacks of Maelstrom Weapon, which is what this entire build is about. It's all about reducing the cooldown of the dogs with Witch Doctor Wolfbones, and the Frost Shock component helps you do. So I just kind of lean into the Frost Shock a little bit more, and it works out very, very well. So that's the build. And let's jump into the VOD here. Let's take a look at how exactly the jailer fight went. I'm going to do basically a full rundown of the fight, and of course I'm going to show you all the mechanics and go over them one by one. I'm going to skip around a little bit once we get past the opening pull here, but let's just dive into the opening pull, and I'm going to go through each of the opening mechanics. There are some different mechanics as you go into different phases of the fight, so when we get there, we'll talk about it. I'm here for lust, guys. We know that. So again, this is the arena. These are the holes I'm talking about. The yellow holes here. They will change color. They'll turn blue a little bit later in the encounter, but for the they kind of stay this color. Now, what you need to do is there's a mechanic that you will get a rune over top of your head. You have to take that rune and drop it into one of these holes. That's when it's safe to go into the hole. The rest of the time, if you fall into the hole, you'll just die. But if you take one of those runes into the hole, you'll explode the rune down there, and then you won't take any damage, and then you'll actually fly back up. So you're going to see that. So you need to tank him near all these different runes, like right in between 3 of them is ideal.
Mechanic happening in 3 seconds is going to be people with rune. You just have to go inside a yellow spot, watch your back, don't get taken out somewhere.
So I jump in here, and I fly backwards. Now, it's important to understand how the knockback works. Because I had a rune, I fell in the hole, nothing bad happened. If I did not have a rune, I would have died there. So when you jump into the hole, you will bounce back the direction that your back was facing. So I jumped in this hole and my back was facing this way. I guess you can't see that, sorry. My back was facing like over here, so I'm going to fly this way. Does that make sense?
Oh, I see.
So this is my very first time doing this pull, so I get better at doing it. There's a general spread that you have to do. Nothing complicated here, just don't overlap with other people. That's all that is. Just a little spread. Okay, more runes. So these guys are going to jump into these holes. Watch them. They jump in and they bounce back out. When they do that, it spawns a pillar, you'll notice. See these pillars spawning?
Okay, tank combo, we're all grouping up under the tanks. Go to moon.
So this is the tank combo here, this big swirly. Everybody in the raid has to help soak this, not
Take
just the
these
tanks.
soaks.
Okay, so you
Okay.
just run in
Line
and
of
tank
sight
it.
coming up here, we
Then
need to stand-
we have these pillars that have spawned now, which is fantastic because the next mechanic is a line of sight mechanic. You have to get out of line of sight of the boss. If you don't, he mind controls you.
behind a pillar.
Find shelter.
I'm
It's called
marking
Relentless
diamonds.
Domination.
That helps. Line of sight. Line of sight.
So I was getting greedy there.
Thanks for moving him
So when he does that, he gets rid of all the pillars that you have now spawned.
clockwise. Move.
So now all these holes are blue instead of yellow, which means you need to move the boss to the next set of holes that are yellow because these holes have been used. We've consumed them. You know, the pillars all came up. They're done now, right? So we have to move
All
forward.
those holes are bad.
Don't
Now we
fall
need
into
to
these
do yellow
holes.
tanks
They
open.
actually, yeah, those are good.
The
there.
holes are bad, guys.
Run out.
New domination.
I fell into a hole earlier. It was pretty fun. So I have a rune here. This is an example right here now of what you do not want to do.
Sigils, find a yellow hole and then
So
drop in.
we're taking the boss over there.
You can do it early. You don't have to wait until
I go over here,
Okay, we're grouped around
and
here now.
I'm really far away from the boss now. The reason I'm saying don't do this is because you're losing uptime on the boss, and you're gonna see how we solve this problem as the fight goes
This is
on.
a spread mechanic.
So we're just spreading again with
and
the
then
circle.
Right after the spread mechanic, move into the boss.
Nothing
You gotta-
complicated.
You gotta have to help soak here.
Now we have to help soak. So we want to help
This
soak.
guy's
Back,
amazing.
fall into the hole if you can
Oh!
help.
Oh, see what happened there? There are several mechanics in this fight that will knock you either backwards or sideways or whatever. So this tank
There's a
mechanic is
spread
one of them.
mechanic, And then right after the
He
spread
does a
mechanic,
little
move
like
into the boss.
slam.
You
He
gotta- you
slams
have
like
to help
twice in a
soak here.
row, and it knocks
in.
you back. Watch this. Slam, slam,
This
and
guy's
here's the
amazing.
thing. I get slammed right here, and I get thrown into this hole right here because I'm not watching where I'm
Stay in the
standing.
hole if you can
Oh,
help it,
no!
And that's two people in.
And I went into the hole,
Fine.
right?
It's fine. It's
So
new people
that's
new
not
changes.
okay, but you
Pull
just have to
away, and
watch
then
where
we
you're
just
going.
run right now.
Then he does this oppression spell. It's just a big circle around himself. He tries to pull you in while he's doing it. So you just have to use like some sort of movement ability to
Run
get
away
out of
from
the circle.
boss.
Nothing crazy here. You can use
And then new
fleshcraft
people
here.
getting paid for
as
these
well.
runes here.
So
Find a
there's then
yellow
we just
hole,
rinse and repeat. There's more
make
runes.
sure you get
Guys,
soaked,
it's not my fault.
back out.
There's a hole there. What am I supposed to
And then you
do?
have line of sight coming up. Make sure you find a pillar close to you. You need to be able to hide.
So
from it.
again, here comes
Go.
the line of
Go
sight
now.
mechanic where we just have to get behind one of these pillars that we've
I'm
spawned.
greeting so much damage, man.
And that's the priest.
This priest did not get behind the pillar, so he got mind
not making
control.
it.
So you
Have
can
to
see it there.
killer.
He's hostile now. So I think he also
put a tank
heals
soak
like
here.
a lot. So
Oh, I was.
we
in a
weren't
tank
we
zone.
weren't standing in the
uh,
tank soak,
start
so that
over
was a big
again.
mistake there. So let me jump ahead here. Let's go to 111. We're gonna solve this problem. So what's the first problem that we have to solve? Well, when we go into one of these holes, when we have the rune on us, we have to jump into one of these holes. Well, how do we get more uptime on the boss? Because you don't want to lose uptime on the boss.
One hole.
So we spread here, and I think I get a rune right after this.
If we jump together, we can.
So here's the rune on my head. What am I going to do to solve this problem? Well, watch. I'm going to dip my toes
You will take
in
way
here.
too much
Now, my back is facing this way, so I'm actually going to bounce backwards, which is bad. But you're going to see how I fix it. We
damage.
jump
Sharing
up,
it with
and then we feral lunge
See
into
what
the
I
boss.
just did there?
Oh, it's
We lunge
fine.
back in.
We'll do it one more time.
If we jump together, we can use.
So you can see I get the rune on my head. I bounce, I go down, and then I just feral lunge into the boss. That's what you need to do. Enhancement Shaman.
Back. I need to
There's a
face
tank
the
combo,
jailer.
like,
That's
one
what I meant to
step
say. I
Watch
said
your
it wrong.
back here. We're pretty close to the hole.
So this is a tank soak. Enhancement Shaman is particularly good at this. It's kind of like warriors as well. So you can just essentially fall into the, when you get a rune on your head, you fall into the hole. As soon as you're coming out of that hole, you smash the Feral Lunge button as fast as you possibly can. And then you'll lunge back into the boss. And you basically don't lose any uptime on the boss
Okay, okay,
whatsoever.
I get it. I get
So
it.
it's a really, really good for us. This fight's
Stay
actually pretty
behind pillars,
fantastic.
stay
Pillar
behind
time.
pillars, It's not worth it. Just crank out all
Okay.
the DPS and then tanks. Move him
Um,
clockwise here. The new skull marker I put in.
then we're going to
This
move
is
once
like
again.
just an LOS.
Let me skip ahead.
Phase 2 right after.
We're going to get to phase 2 in a second. So this is the last
Okay.
pillar thing.
Phase 2 here, tanks. You're basically playing tic-tac-toes. There's gonna be pillars, like big blue pillars. You're just gonna
Here comes phase
do a
2.
circle on top of that when it comes time.
So on phase 2, there's a different knockback mechanic that's coming. There are more circles that we have to spread. But this time, when the circles detonate, they leave behind like a zone that you have to get out of as well. But it's not really a big deal.
Switch.
And I'll show you all that right here. There's also a tank mechanic going on that I don't really understand, but they knew what they were doing. So
Here it goes.
Here
Those
goes
are the
phase
big
2.
black pillars that you guys are going to be bringing those in. Decimator coming up here. This is just a big blue circle.
So there's Decimator right there. It's just a big circle like he's saying, and it just knocks you back from its point of origin. So I'm standing this direction from the circle, so I'm going to get knocked this direction, knocked back.
It has a knockback based on the way that you're facing from that blue circle.
So boom, it's a
Oh,
tiny
barely even
knockback.
a knockback on normal.
On normal, I bet you on heroic and on mythic, it's probably a much larger knockback.
Shattering
So.
Blast, it's the tank mechanic. Go over there, break the pillar, and then come back. Torment coming up, spread out, get ready.
So
to
the
spread
tanks
out.
just have to take that Shattering Blast out. So this is the spread, but this time, after we're done spreading, it's going to leave behind a little like a swirly that we have to dodge right after. So we have to be careful here. Spread, and then see those are the swirlies right there. But it's not really that
Free
complicated.
damage here for 10 seconds. Nothing
And we're
happens
just
for
beating
10
up the
seconds. We're
boss,
gonna get
'kay?
Runes coming up. These runes.
Again, so we're in phase 2. We're not doing the same
do
mechanics
not go
as
into a
phase
hole,
1.
Okay, I repeat.
So this is what he's trying to. This is what the raid leader guy is saying right now is that when you got the runes in phase 1, you have to take them into a hole, and then you detonate them down there, and that's not what happens in
Go
phase
into a
2.
hole,
But I
pump
want to.
to group here. We're gonna have to break you out for this CC.
I want to go in the hole.
So here's the
Go in
runes.
hole, Stay in here.
We have to just
in
stay here.
and
What
then see-
happens with these runes, guys, is that instead of having to drop them in a hole, you actually just get charmed and you try to walk off the edge of the platform. The jailer's like forcing you, he's dominating you, he's forcing you to like jump off the edge and die. So your allies have to break you out. So I'm
CC these
charmed
guys
here.
And then hit them as hard as you can to break them out.
So there's some really good. I mean, every CC in the book works here, but a hunter binding shot in particular on this fight is incredibly
charmed.
strong.
That's gonna be Zuko and Dylan. Keep hitting them. Keep.
I'm just gonna mute it for now because I keep yelling and screaming in this fight. So you can see that I get broken free. The warrior isn't broken free yet. There, now he's finally broken free. Here's Decimator again. This is just a knockback. We're just getting knocked back from the point of origin. Nothing crazy. It'll be interesting later when there's holes in the ground again and you can fall into them. So we'll have to watch for that. There's the swirlies. And the tank mechanic happened as well. Phase 2 is kind of boring, not going to lie. There's not a lot going on in Phase 2. It seems quite simple. Actually, easier than Phase 1, I would argue. So here's the next tank mechanic. That's the pillars with the black stuff over there. They have to go deal with that. So we're doing more damage.
Just stay right there.
Again, these two guys need to stay here. They're going to get mind controlled. Sorry.
Them.
And there's the binding shot. Look at the binding shot, guys. See that right there? That little icon right there? Binding shot is so good for this charm mechanic.
Watch for this knockback.
Very good. There's a knockback. We're getting knocked back this way. You can fall into the middle and die, so don't go into the middle. It counts as a hole.
We'd have a resident 50.
Is this tank gonna survive? Probably not, right?
So let's
Spread
move.
here.
116. We're close. So right after this, we're going to go to Phase 3. So I'm just going to let it play out. We got about 20 seconds before Phase 3. So again, there's holes here now. We have to be a little bit careful because there's going to be a knockback. Here comes all the holes
Okay, we're
again.
back to the other phase, right?
Yeah, that'll force us into phase 3.
There's
This is
Phase 3.
Oh God.
So he
That-
stuns everybody
Yeah,
and
unfortunately.
talks for a while.
I think a couple people die, but
So in Phase 3, there's a knockback once again. There is a raid. There's like sort of a raid-wide tank soak once again, similar to Phase 1, but it looks a little bit different. It's a beam instead of a circle. And then there's sort of there's a black puddle that gets put on the ground that is almost exactly like the Defile puddle from the Wrath of the Lich King fight. Except basically with this black puddle, if anybody touches it, it starts to expand rapidly. So you have to avoid it altogether.
so
It won't expand unless you touch it.
The map is now cut in half. We basically need to work from one end to the other.
This raid leader was really good. Really great guy. So there's holes here that you can see. We need to be very careful about
Azeroth's health. Oh, boy.
positioning. Very careful
Torment's
about where
coming
we're
up. Get ready
standing.
to spread. Get ready to spread.
Spread here. Again, this will leave behind a circle.
Then we have a knockback circle coming in 2 seconds.
I almost fell in
Watch
right
your
there.
back Here. We got a lot of holes here.
There's the knockback circle, so I
Going
need
up
to be
this
careful where
circle,
I
watch
position
that.
right here. So I'm going to get knocked straight backwards, see? And I'm fine. I don't get knocked into the hole. Everything's fine.
This is a tank.
This is the tank soak here. It's a big beam. Instead of a circle, it's a beam. We all just have to do it
So
together.
everyone get inside here, inside this beam right here.
Okay.
We are all
Nothing
saving-
complicated about this. You just get in.
Have to save Azeroth here. And then chains now. It's
We're
going to be a
saving
tank
Azeroth.
DPS. Just
Then there's a
break
new
the
chain
defense behind
mechanic.
them by running away.
There's the Defile Puddle. Don't touch that.
Don't stand in that black puddle. Do not stand in that black puddle.
I like black puddles though.
New runes coming in. We go inside. Go to the tanks. And then
So
heal.
these runes are the same thing. They're going to get charmed and they're going to
Yeah,
walk
heal
off the
stuff
edge
here.
of the map. But you're going to watch. There's a binding
There's
shut.
Absorb mechanic if we don't get it fully.
Oh, sorry. No, this is different now. So, I'm so sorry. So this is completely different. In phase 3, instead of people getting charmed and walking off the edge, everybody has to soak this together, and we all get a debuff that basically absorbs a certain amount of healing. If the healers don't heal through this absorption effect on us, then we get mind controlled.
Fully healed, we become mind controlled. So healers use.
So he just said that there. So this is like a huge moment for healers to use
Yeah,
their
about 8 seconds
CDs.
left to get this
You
off
need
of
like
us.
revival. You need
To help them if
salvation.
you still have it,
You
just
know, all
press it
kinds
down.
of big HPS
Heal
cooldowns.
myself,
So
there we go.
there we go. We
Okay,
finally got
knockback
past it
coming
all.
Up, watch your back.
Here's the
Next,
knockback.
don't
So watch this. This is a really interesting interaction, right? People are standing right here. They're going to get knocked into the Defile Puddle. They're not really paying attention. So watch
fall
what
that black
happens.
stuff. We're
They get
moving
knocked
over.
into it, and it starts to expand.
And-
Expand.
Let's call it. Let's call it.
And that covers the entire arena because that's how quickly it starts to expand. So that's something you need to pay attention, is that when this knockback
Okay,
comes through,
knockback coming up, watch your
you
back.
have to watch where
Black
you're
stuff don't
standing.
fall.
You don't want to fall in a hole,
That
and you
black
don't want to
stuff.
fall into the Defile, or else you'll end up dying, okay?
And some-
So that's that. Let's move forward. We're going to go to 230. This is the final little leg of the journey here. I'm going to show you guys a pull. This is going into phase 3. This is when you want to lust, and we're going into phase 3 again, and this is actually the time when we get the kill. I'm just going to continue to explain the mechanics as we go here. So we're just started
get ready
phase
to spread.
3.
5 seconds. There's a hole behind us. Make sure we're keeping an eye out for it. Get ready to spread. Spread and watch your feet after. Keep it clean.
Again, this is going to drop puddle like swirlies right after. So I have to get out of dodge here.
Okay, knockback bubble happening. It's
Here's the knockback
far.
here.
Look
So
where it is.
watch
your
where
back.
watch where I am. It doesn't knock you very far,
Okay,
but if there was a
Desolation here, we're
circle
soaking
there,
at Moon. Look at Moon. Look at Moon. Get on Moon. Get
there
on Moon.
there's the tank soak mechanic. We all have to get together and soak this together. Nothing crazy here.
Okay.
Doesn't even do that much
Chain
damage.
break happening now. DPS and a tank will break chains. Break now.
So see those chains right there? That's the other one we didn't see before. I think 2 DPS and 1 tank are going to get a chain. You can see the 3 icons here. So the Spirit has it, and Dylan has it, and Brutality has it. So
Dylan, Spirit. Go for
they have
the
to
full
break
bar.
it.
Remove
Just
her
like
from
on
file
Mist,
power.
the
No
Mists of
one
Tyranus
stand in
side boss.
file. Tanks are reloading.
So again, there's circles that are active all along. We have to be careful not to
A lot
fall
of
in
holes
here.
by us. These should close in a bit. Don't
So
move.
this is the healing reduction mechanic. So
Get a hold,
everybody's
stay
going to
here.
get
Stay
a
here,
healing
let healers
absorb.
Use everything you can to heal us off here.
Here it is. Look at everybody's health. So you need big healer cooldowns. You can help
heal.
here too. You can help with Fleshcraft. You can help with a Warlock Cookie. You can help with a personal potion. You can help them heal this
Heal,
up.
heal.
I'm
Okay,
healing
knockback
people
circle
with
happening in
Surge
10
just to
seconds.
make sure.
We're by a lot of holes right now. Find a good spot when it comes up. Don't get knocked back. That's the only thing that will kill us right now.
So yeah, here it comes.
for
The knockback. So it's right here. So I'm in a good spot. I'm only going to get knocked
It's
towards
far,
the
watch
jailer.
where it is.
So I just chill here. There we go. I got kind of close to this hole, but not too close. You'll start to understand. You can gauge it.
Okay, move into Defile.
There's
move, move,
Defile.
move,
I
move,
almost
move.
it starts to expand
New spot here.
a little bit. You can see how it
Let's,
expanded a little
let's
bit, but
fight
not
with
too
these
much.
gray circles here. Soak here first. Soak here first.
Look at how
Go,
close
go,
we are
go,
to a
go, fall in
circle.
that hole.
Yeah, that was pretty close. The hole's like right there.
Holy moly.
It's pretty tough. This fight has a lot of blue in it. You can get it confused sometimes.
Got him up.
So we have to
Spread,
spread
and
here
watch
with the
your feet after.
swirlies. Okay,
Watch your step.
keep beating him up.
Okay, knockback circle happening in 5. Watch your feet.
Whew.
This is it, guys.
Okay,
Almost
okay, I
got
gotta
this.
chill.
Watch your feet. Knockback circle is there.
So it's right
Watch your
there.
back.
I can see it very clearly. There we go. Perfect. That guy
Oh,
almost
look
went
at
right
it.
in.
Chains
So
get ready
close.
to break. Chains get ready to break.
So there we go. 3 people have
Me,
chains. They need to
Spirit,
run away
and
from each
Move,
other.
move, Go.
There's Defile. Get
Get
out of
around
Defile.
and
So
move
the
towards
tanks have to
Defile.
be very aware of that, and they gotta
Let's
move.
Get a shout. Get a shout.
Somebody rally? I don't have it. Mine's on cooldown.
Okay. This is a tank soak here, or this is a.
This is the big healing
Soak.
soak.
2%.
It doesn't matter. We got it. We got the kill, but
This is a tank beam shooting here. Line up here. Line up here on.
there you go.
Oh, nice!
Fucking easy.
That's the kill. So the phases change dramatically, one to the other. So let me just let's just jump back to the gameplay here. I'm just going to show you the phases really quick here. So let's look at the abilities. So number one, it's all about those holes, right? And you need to be careful. In phase 1, you need to watch out for the runes. They're gonna, you can't, obviously, you need to take a rune into a hole. If it detonates on the main like level where everybody is, it'll do a ridiculous amount of damage to everybody, and that's not okay. So what you do is you take your rune, you're gonna drop it into a hole. Make sure that your back, wherever your back is facing, that is where you're gonna start flying. So make sure that you don't fly out of the arena, and make sure you use Feral Lunge to recover from a rune if you get one on as an Enhancement Shaman. Very easy for us. As soon as you're coming out of that hole, you just Feral Lunge right back in. You just mash that button as quickly as you can, okay? That gets you back in. That's basically phase 1. There's obviously the tank soak. You got to help the tank soak it, and then there's the LOS that you have to do. Martyrdom is the tank soak, and then there is the LOS. There are no chains of oppression on... Oh, yeah, this thing. Sorry. This is where he just pulls you in and puts a black circle around. You just have to get out of the black circle. So very simple mechanics. The main one that I just want to highlight is the hole. If you do get the Rune of Damnation, take it into the hole, detonate it, Feral Lunge back in. That's phase 1. Phase 2 has the charm. So you're not taking the runes into the holes anymore. You're bringing it into the group so that the group can stun you guys when you get charmed and then just cleave the boss and cleave you, right? So that's the main change with number 2. Also, there's going to be the Decimator knockback. That's just a small little knockback. You just have to make sure you're facing the circle itself and don't get knocked into a hole. That's the main thing, right? The tank soak has turned into a tank beam, so you have to all soak it together. That's basically phase 2. You're going to get charmed, and you have to kill the guys who are charmed, get them out of the domination. Watch out for the knockback from Decimator. Soak with the tanks on the beam. That's phase 2. Phase 3, it changes once again. We have the big expanding black puddle. Don't stand in the black puddle. You're going to get knocked back from Decimator once again. And then there's going to be the tank soak thing with the beam as well in phase 3, where you're soaking with the whole group. Then there's chains, and the chains have a change now. They're personal chains. Instead of like a big circle you have to get out of, 3 people get linked together and they have to run away from each other. That's about it on normal, guys. It's not that crazy. The main part of the fight that you really need to practice is falling into the hole with your bomb and dropping it off with your Rune of Damnation, and then Feral Lunging back into the boss. That's really, really important. That's honestly the main thing. The rest of it is just sort of like being careful where you're standing. Don't be standing near a hole. Don't get knocked into a hole. Remember the tank slap, Martyrdom, the triple hit on the tank. That will also knock you back a little bit into a hole potentially. So you need to be watching where your positioning is at all times in this fight. It's really, really important. And if I could highlight one thing for this fight, that would be the main thing. Just watch your positioning. Watch where you're standing at all times, because you might get knocked into a hole, and of course you don't really want that. But the rest of the fight, honestly, it's quite simple, and it's a lot of fun. And it was a great fight to do. Honestly, I had a blast with the Jailer, and I think we're going to get it down this week with the guild. So that should be a lot of fun. That's the Jailer fight, guys. That's the Jailer fight on normal. I will continue to do more guides for the heroic versions of these bosses later, because they definitely add more mechanics and make it a lot more complicated. But for now, that's the last boss in Sepulcher, the first one for normal. That's the Jailer, and that's the fight from an Enhancement Shaman point of view. The most important thing, the most important cooldown on this fight is Feral Lunge. I really do think that. I think it's super, super important that you are casting Feral Lunge at the exact right time, and that you're making sure that you don't lose a lot of uptime on the boss, because you're going to be flying in the air with those runes. So once again, just to recap, here's the build that we ran. Witch Doctor, Wolfbones, Ellie Blast, Hot Hand, Hailstorm, Ellie Spirits. Those are the talents that we ran. And of course the Conduits, we did not take Tumbling Waves. We took Magma Fist, we took Focus Lightning, and we took Chill to the Core. Chill to the Core, of course, is because of Frost Shock generating so many stacks of Maelstrom up, and helps to reduce the cooldown of our dogs. So that's the build. That's the guide to the Jailer on normal in Sepulcher of the first ones for the Enhancement Shaman. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you drop a like, I would really appreciate it. It helps the algorithm quite a bit. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? Huh? What are you doing with yourself? Hit that button, or I'll find you. I'll hunt you down, and I'll make you press that button. All right? Don't test me. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. As always, we'll catch you in the next one.